On today's episode, I'm joined by drummer Dan Aran, one of the most versatile and sought after drummers on the New York jazz scene. Over the past 2 decades, Dan has performed and recorded with a wide range of artists, including Natalie Merchant and Stacey Kent, showcasing his ability to navigate everything from straight ahead jazz to Latin and Middle Eastern grooves. His acclaimed debut album, Breathing, and his latest release, New York Family, described by Downbeat as fascinating record. Dan's wide musical range and deep rhythmic sensitivity make this a conversation you won't want to miss. And we're live. So, Dan, good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. You just told me before you had a really good morning, you had a really good practicing session.
Yeah.
Are you a diligent practicer?
I'm not sure how to answer that because some people practice 4 hours a day since they're kids or had at least periods of time where they practiced many, many hours. I'm pretty much a late bloomer in many things. A lot of it is my seriousness and capacity to understand what I need to give in order to get from the music. And I always practiced, but I think the way I practice, A, what I do when I practice, and B, the time I make for it, even though it used to be that I would say, oh, I don't really have time for this today and that. Now I make time no matter what. So I'm diligent in the way that I definitely try to make a sacrifice or of other things in my life now. And I feel like a lot of people did it when they were younger, when I was like kind of dealt with some other things. So
Well, that brings me to the point. Everyone has their own unique journey. Like when I went to Berkeley, I didn't leave my apartment. I just practiced and I had no social life. But now I'm like, oh, I missed out on all these years, and now I travel without bringing the guitar. So everyone's journey is different, I think, and that's totally cool.
absolutely. And I'm definitely learning that about myself. And when I teach also, I try to give whoever I'm teaching the sense that yes, it's okay to be you and to do it in your time, but also I try to distill, you say, some values and some not values, but the right ideas and some discipline in terms of how to organize things. Everything was very overwhelming for me because I'm you said you didn't have a social life. I had a very rich social life and I was hanging out a lot. So I was
You're talking
practicing.
about before you really got serious about a
Yeah, I
career.
mean, I was very serious about music, meaning it was the main thing in my life, but like the hang was a big part of it after and before, and I was less organized with my time. I didn't really have a structure for many years, so I had to kind of build that for myself, and also the ability to concentrate. So now I I do try to, you work with kids or even if it's not kids, people who are more beginners and stuff, who have some learning disabilities or some concentration issues or some focus issues. And then when they try to practice, they're like, oh, now I'm going to practice for 4 hours. But you try to give them ideas of what's more sensible, what's more realistic. No, maybe try 10 minutes of this and then 10 minutes of that and then 5 minutes of that and 5 minutes of that every day for the next 2 weeks or something like that, something more organized. Because that's how I do it, man. Like this morning, it was more than 5 minutes, but I do. I take. I'm not gonna bore you with exactly what I do, but like I'll take an idea of something very basic,
Well,
and
first of all, you're not gonna bore me. I'm fascinated by this stuff. So please, like, be as specific as you would like.
I'll give you a couple. Like every drummer will do a single stroke, which is right, left, and in different dynamics on different drums and in different like I'll play 16th notes, eighth notes, quarter notes, triplets, different kind of triplets all over the set. I'll lead with my left, lead with my right, go from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. But I'll start with doing like 15, 20 minutes of that from a very slow tempo to like a faster tempo, keeping it solid, pushing myself a little bit. I'll rest for a second. Then I'll do some doubles with the same kind of ideas. So before I start messing around, and I do have some music to learn for this weekend, for instance, before I even touch that, I'll do that. And that's if I have time. If I wouldn't have time, I would maybe start with the music I have to learn. So these kind of things, it I would get some music to learn, or I would feel like my chops are horrible, and I would get too overwhelmed with where do I start even when I practice? You know what I mean? And now I have more of the ability to organize my things. So diligent, I don't know. I became more organized practicer, and it became really important for me. Like I'll get insecure if I don't practice.
Same,
Like
same.
coming to the
I feel
gig,
bad. I feel bad. That's the battle. Is like if I don't practice, I feel guilty, and that
yeah,
messes up playing for me. You know.
yeah. I don't know if I feel guilty, but I just feel like not as prepared when I come to a situation. I like when it's easier. It was really difficult for me for many years. It was like a struggle. Like I would get to the gig, oh man, my left hand is not working, and like now they're calling the student 5'8", and I'm like, but now that I feel like I'm more ready to a lot of situations, I'm not saying that, of course, I'm like light years away of being ready as whatever, in everything. But things are easier for me technically on the drums and physically and mentally. It's like I feel a little more solid than I used to be. So it's really I'm getting more addicted to that feeling. It's like, oh, okay, like we got to play in that tempo. That's fine. I got to solo over that form. That's fine. Where until pretty recently, it was like more of a challenge. Like I would get freaked out more because I feel like I wasn't as solid or solid enough. And I don't know, like it's maturity. It's maturity, and that's what I'm saying. I'm a late bloomer, and I'm gonna be 48 this year.
48.
I'm going to be 48 in September. So I am a late bloomer in realizing a few basic things, I think. But it also I took a few really good lessons in my life. I had really good teachers, some from peers and friends, and some my elders. But I heard
Well, first of all, let me say too, in jazz, people come into their own in their 40s. To be honest, people get rising star wars when they're in their 40s. So I think that's the thing about our industry is that
right.
the age ranges can be as early as like in your teens and then playing into your 80s. It's interesting because like you say that like you're like you say like, oh, I'm 48, and I'm like, yeah, but in the jazz world that's still a baby, it seems.
Yeah, I feel like in music in general, man, I mean, it should be kind of in everything in life, unless you're a professional athlete. But yeah, I don't think anything should stop, and stuff should keep evolving. And as long as don't think of yourself as like, oh, I made it, it's something, or I'm too old for something.
Made
Again,
it.
feels physically you're more limited stuff. I used to play football every week, like soccer, with some musician friends. At some point, I started getting injured every week. So you're like, okay, what? So I run now, I do other things. I go, but some things you can't do, but or you could do very differently. But no, music. It's not only jazz. Music in general, man. It's like I would hope that I will always keep evolving and being more serious about it and learning more. And the more solid I get, the more secure I get also in learning. It's easier for me to learn.
As far as the amount you're playing gig wise, are you happy with the amount you work? Do you want to work more? Do you want to do a little less? Do you want to do more band leading, more as a sideman, like more with certain instrumentations? Like talk to me a little bit about that.
It's a good question because the way I look at it really changed in the past few years. Because it used to be that I would be, oh, I'm playing every day. That's great. Oh, I'm going to be on the road. It's great. Now, yes, I always want to work more and I always want to do different things and more things and bigger things. But I, my lifestyle changed and my state of mind changed. I would say COVID changed a lot, but it's before that. It's a few years before that. I used to play a lot of local New York gigs late at night, or even two of them. Like I would do an early gig and then go play the late night at Fat Cat or Smalls or whatnot, and Lil Branch and all these amazing places for music. But and I would hang out afterwards and like sleep late, get up, go to practice,
Do
head
it all
over.
over.
And I would take road gigs that even if they didn't pay great or enough, and just for the experience to travel and because it was with great musicians. And now I do less of all of those things. I definitely want to play with everyone and I want to be on the road, but I take more what makes sense for me if it's either financially or musically. So if something is playing with some great musicians but it starts at 10 p.m and ends at 2 a.m. and I'm gonna waste my money on tipping the bar for the soda that I get, and then the rest of it on the cab home, and then I have to get up at 10 a.m. instead of at 7, then I was like, what did I do here? You know what I mean? And no disrespect to those gigs. Like I trust me, I did it all my life, and I'll do it occasionally. But it became less of a thing for me to do it every day because it's playing. You know what I mean? I even think like that my playing got better when I play less of those and kind of burning my chops, playing a snare drum all night with brushes. Like there's more time for me to figure out what I want to play, what I want to practice. And now I'll play 3, 4 times a week, sometimes twice a week. But it's things that I want to do more. You know what I mean? It's playing in clubs or restaurants that pay enough or that people listen, and I'm not dissing anything. Like I've done all of those, and like some of my favorite musicians are that's where they play, and I just I'm trying to aim more to what makes sense for my life right now, what I'm gaining in terms musically, financially, professionally, musically, like stylistically, where I want to go. So it's I always want to play more, but like the right things. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
ask me if I'm on the road, yes, but maybe not like I used to be, like doing a different city every night in the Slovakia, Czech Republic, and I don't know, then Austria, like with the band it was killing, but it didn't pay enough, and like by the second week you're sick because it's so much travel, and so I love traveling.
I would like to play. I mean, for me, it's like two or three, maybe three nights a week. You know, is fine for me. I would. That's my ideal number.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, for me, I don't know if I have an ideal number. It just has to make sense. You know what I mean? It has to be. There has to be. It has to make sense. It has to either pay the rent, pay the mortgage, whatnot, or like take me somewhere musically, like be super fun and not too demanding in how to get there, carrying the drums, people bumping into you when you play. It just has to be like
I
maybe listen,
understand.
people clapping, appreciating you. It's a lot to ask in New York. It's crazy. It's New York is a very challenging place for that. Very challenging place, but that's why it's also the most amazing. Like, look,
Did you ever
anywhere
used to play at Garage?
I played a handful of gigs in the garage, not a handful, more like two handfuls. Yes, back in the day.
That was a yeah. I mean, I understand. Like, I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes right now. What you're talking about, which is
Oh,
like
bro, I used to play 3 times a week at Arturo's, Arturo's and Houston and
yes,
Thompson for a good 10 years. And I played at Sophia's, and I played a lot of restaurant gigs with some of the best musicians I know, like unbelievable piano players and unbelievable bass players. I learned so much. I played thousands of hours of brushes and a snare drum. It gave me a lot, man. I learned hundreds of tunes, lyrics to tunes, because singers would say it. It's amazing. That's the school. I'm not saying I'm not to do it. I'm saying do it. But it also after a while be aware of what you want to do.
yeah. You got to be going forward. You can't be doing the same thing if it's you got to look forward. Otherwise, you're never going to grow. It can't be doing the same types of things all the time. And I know, at least that's the way I feel.
I
It's got
I
to feel
totally,
different.
I totally agree. And also, I think for me, I Uber did that. I played so like thousands of those for many years. You know what I mean? So now I'm just trying to be more selective. And it's the minute you make a certain switch, also things happen. Like you aim for places, which also you have to feel ready. Like who told me that? John Riley. I took a lesson with John Riley, which was amazing. The drummer John Riley,
Yeah. Hmm.
master teacher, really. Like I remember I took one lesson with him. It was exactly 1 hour. It was very organized. I came to Manhattan School of Music to take the lesson with him, and he told me many, many wise things. But then a few something that stuck with me amongst other things was he asked me he told me what he was thinking that he was thinking about when he was coming up, and he asked me, hey, who would you like fantasy band you'd like to play with? Forget what I said. Maybe it was Mulgrew Miller back then, and he's like, hey, what record do you really like? I think he asked me, or what band of Mulgrew. I forget if it was Mulgrew. It was someone quite famous and that I admire. And he said, if he calls you tomorrow to play the gig, are you ready? And I was like, what do you mean ready? It's like, you know, like, what are you gonna hang? Can you hang? And it really, okay, we think about it, you know, yeah, we want to be ready, but really, like, there is the aspect of kind of fantasy, or what, your head. There's your head, and then there's what's going on. And then a part of, like, also wanting to play other gigs, has you have to feel ready also to, because we all get nervous, we all get, like, you have to be like uber ready for something, to, right, you're on a stage, you're on a big stage, you got a solo, gotta play an intro for something. So while aiming to bigger things or different things, you also have to kind of have to feel like, oh, okay, I'm solid enough to do this. So he always stuck with me. He's such a brilliant guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're ever ready though. I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's when you, I think I think it's just, I don't know. I maybe feel this way. I think it's just always about being in that state to just aim to be the best you can be. And I mean, but I definitely agree with you. Like, but you're never made it. Like it's always a process. I think it's good to stay in that state, at least to always be aiming for the next gig or the next thing you want to do.
I agree.
That's my
I agree.
opinion, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
And
you,
thankfully, we are around so many great musicians, great bands, great composers, and great instrumentalists that we always, I mean, I can speak for myself, but I think all of us in the community, we're so inspired all the time, or most of the time. You go see, you know, I heard some of the guys speaking on your podcast. I'll go check out my friends playing once a week or so. I'll play somewhere, there's a band playing after me. It's just so many amazing drummers and musicians in general. So you keep getting inspired and learning things, and it pushes you to, okay, you know.
yeah, I have to go now once a week to go. I have to go to the city once a week to hear music. It's like become part of my, you know, because I totally disconnected from that because I, you know, like between like playing in the city and playing in New Jersey, but like
Where are you?
now, like I have to go once a week. It's like
Where in Jersey are you?
Central Jersey, but like I have, it's just,
Go to New Brunswick. They have
yeah,
a city,
25 minutes. I used to play in New Brunswick like all the time,
right?
like many gigs in New Brunswick, probably like, you know, 20 to 40 or something like that. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And then there is the festival that they do on the water. What is that called? They played there with the Telavana
The one in the Riverview one, Jersey City.
Riverview.
Okay.
That's a good. I mean, I guess that's a little. It's more of a ways for you,
It's far that's farther away. Yeah. That's like I think probably an hour or so, but
right? That's a really beautiful setting. I liked it. You see the whole city. It's beautiful.
yeah, festivals are it's a different thing, right? You tell me what your thoughts are. Play on a big open stage with outside, you know, totally different than
Inside. Could be inside, but outdoors is the thing. Listen, I'm not. There are people that are more experienced than me, but in my experience, outside, yeah, it's a totally different setup in terms of, for the sound engineers, I guess. It
yeah.
just sounds very, very different. It's a different challenge.
Yeah, I don't like playing outside at all. It's just
For me, I guess it depends on the settings, on the weather, on the drum set, on who's the sound engineer. Preferably no sound
yeah.
engineer. It'd be acoustic.
Who are you
But
working with this weekend? Because you said you were preparing music for the weekend.
this weekend, I'm playing with Itai, Chris, and Telavana, with the band that I've been part of for the past 10 years or so. Itai is a great flautist and composer, and he has a band fusing Middle Eastern music and Latin music, in specific Cuban music, Tel Havana. And we're playing at Ornithology this
Oh,
Saturday.
cool. Yeah. In
And
Brooklyn.
then Sunday, I'm playing with a great guitarist who's visiting. He's playing all week at Birdland with Cyril and me. And Michael Valenou, we're playing in Williamsburg, Bar Blonde. I hope I'm saying it right. I don't know how to say it. It's in a hotel in Williamsburg. And I think Rick Rosado is on bass. And that should be fun too. That's 5 to 8 on Sunday.
I'd like to talk to Rick Rosado. You should tell him.
Oh man, I haven't seen him in so long. I'm looking forward to playing with both
Well,
of
he
them.
has an open invitation if he wants to do the podcast.
Give him a shot, man. I'll tell him.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, but so basically this week is yeah, and you said you were teaching too. So I assume that's a big part of your life as well.
Man, I actually this is very periodically. It's periods of time. I used to have a couple of students through the new school back in the day that were out of proficiency, and sometimes I have private students. Sometimes I'll teach kids. It's very right now. I have like one private student, and then everything else is who's steady.
Yeah.
Everything else is very random. I I taught a lot in my life. I do have a lot of experience, but it's really there's not one institution that I teach in right now or one school. It's whatever comes and makes sense.
Yeah, it's mixed. It's mixed. But you're open to it if the opportunity, if someone wants to study with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Come study.
When did you come? So you came to New York about what, 20 years ago, you were saying like that?
Came to New York, man. Like, I came to New York a long time ago. I came to New York in '98,
Oh, okay. So we're going back 27.
and then I went. I got out of here. I went back to Jerusalem for a year, and I came back in 2000. The end of 2000, I came as a student. I came to the new school on a student visa. Did the 4 years there. Then got my, I think it's called OPT, practical training, which gives you another year of visa. And then I did a million artist visas and stayed here and worked. And then I got my green card, did the 5 years of that, and now I'm American.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, it is great.
So we're talking about 25 years ago. Let's go back. Who did you study with at the new school? Do you like that you owe a lot of credit to?
People, man, a lot of different people, but some of the people that are like really impacted my life. So I used to play with this guy Harry Whitaker.
Hmm.
Aran was at the restaurant. Harry was an amazing pianist, composer, teacher, and some of his highlights as a sideman and as a musician were with Roberta Flack for 9 years. He was her
Hmm.
music director and played Rhodes with her. She used to play piano, he used to play keys. And he worked with Ubiquity, with the Roy Ayers. You know, the Jackie Brown, the movie, all some of that music is Harry's. But then he did so much work as a jazz pianist. He was an amazing, amazing pianist and teacher to hundreds of people on the scene. He was a regular at Smalls, and everybody would come to sit in and play and sing with him at our tours. So since I was what they call out of proficiency, like you come to the school and you do a test, and if you know your rudiments and a couple of things and can read a little bit, then you can choose whoever you study with. So a couple of years I chose to study with Harry,
Oh, wow.
which I would just go to his house anyway. So I was like, why not hook him up also with to get paid for it? And we would work on music, a little bit of basic piano, some harmony, lyrics of stuff, music. It was just Harry was really a big, big influential figure in my life. Then I was lucky enough also to study with the great Chico Hamilton, the drummer, who was his approach to drums was kind of amazing. And we hardly did any technique, but it was just a lot of asking about the old times, like his gigs and the way he lived, and a lot of musical stuff on the drums and approaches and a lot of stuff about life. He was just such a beautiful, beautiful human being. And Chico was kind and giving, like never spoke shit about anyone, like just like really beautiful human
That's
being.
a rarity.
Man, it's like some of those guys, they're like magic, bro. Like he was amazing. And then a year and a half or so with EMAC, the great Eric McPherson, who was another big influence on my playing and in my life. Another magician, man, like on the drums and off. I love Eric. He's a beautiful human
He's
being.
amazing. Yeah, he's an amazing drummer.
Eric was also a lot of more like technique on the drums, rudimental stuff, Wilcoxon and other kind of classic marching band solos or more like snare drum solos and some odd meter stuff. But I took here and there lessons with a lot of people. I took some lessons with Ari Honing. It was amazing. Ari is another amazing person, an unbelievable drummer, a real innovator. influenced me a lot, taught me a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
I play with him a few times. It
Oh man, you're both lucky. This is wonderful.
was
And,
hard
and
for me.
then a lot of men, like someone I don't know if you know him, but there's this guy called Amir Ziv, and I took his sight reading class for a couple of semesters, and that really, really pushed my reading to another level. I was a
Mm.
very bad reader. Now I'm a pretty decent reader, if not good. And Amir, it was really fun, man. It was only drummers, and we did a lot of rudimental stuff and some big band stuff and just charts in general, like some Broadway stuff with very, very little details and everything. And it really took my reading to another level. It was a great, speaking of really good teachers, Amir is a great teacher. Also super sweet human being. But
Yeah, no, it's been so great to hear your story, and it's a success story in a way, to come and to do this and to grow and to just be the best you can be on the instrument. No, so this has been great. Thanks for telling your story a little bit with the podcast.
dude, thanks for having me. I don't know. I'm glad someone's interested to hear what I gotta say.